and sooner or later it says this hangout on there is live. I'm live. All right, let me try to get back into it. This video I'm going to practice discussing the architecture of Xamarin.Android. That's it. Let me share my screen. Let me try to practice this, and let me see how I do. And if I butcher this video, I'll delete it and I'll just create another video. All right, so I'm going to use Word, and I'm going to draw some tables, and I'm going to attempt to explain how Xamarin.Android is architected, in which developers are able to leverage .NET technology, hence C#, F#, to build a mobile app that runs on the Android platform. Okay, all right. This is important that I thoroughly understand this. And if I don't, then I need to keep on revisiting what I'm struggling with, so that I can articulate it to people that need help understanding. All right, so I think I need like a third column. Come here. Give me a third column. I right clicked. Hold up. Okay, you know what? I want to undo everything. I'm gonna start over. Insert columns. Yeah, I think I need something like that. Okay, and then so within Xamarin.Android, the architecture is, I would like to say, moderately basic. Okay, so what does that mean? All right, why is everything running slow? I bet you I need to kill my Visual Studio window. So what does that mean? Moderately. Hold up, let me kill this, because I'm having memory issues. Moderately basic. All right, so within Xamarin.Android, and is there a way for me? Yeah, there we go. So within Xamarin.Android, we're going to say architecture. I can't really spell. Let's call that that. Yeah, let's center it. Yeah, okay. So the Xamarin.Android architecture is essentially this, okay? As I understand it, it is at the low level, right? At the foundational level, you have this Linux kernel. All right, I hope I spelled that right. And this Linux kernel, my understanding is that it's responsible for managing the I/O activities or operations on the operating system, right? That's essentially what a kernel does. Specifically, that kernel will take I/O operation requests, translate it into data that the central processing unit understands, and then that stuff gets executed and beautiful things occur. So that's my understanding of the Linux kernel. This is the foundation, right? This is where everything sits on top of. In fact, because it's so foundational, I'm going to hit the bold button because I'm going to put emphasis on that, right? All right, so with that said, you have two different runtime environments that run side by side, right? That sit on top of this Linux kernel. Now, I know that when we think about .NET, we think about the CLR, or Common Language Runtime, right? But this isn't like a WPF application. It's not a it's not a WinForms application. This is actually an Android application, right? And so the CLR, or Common Language Runtime, that us.NET developers are used to referring to when it comes to the execution, well, that's not being used for Xamarin Android. Neither is it being used for Xamarin iOS. Of course, I'm talking about Xamarin Android. What's being used is actually this mono. I won't call it mono runtime, but I think it's referred to as a mono execution environment. Come here. Okay. This mono execution environment runs in parallel or side by side with the Android runtime. I'm trying to get in flow, right? Let's stick this in parentheses, ART, Android runtime. All right. So I like to have things centered. Come here. Center you. Yeah. All right. So at our very foundation, we have our Linux kernel. This is responsible for managing I/O, right? But what sits on top of the Linux kernel, as we're talking about the Xamarin.Android architecture, which is the architecture that is in place to enable apps written using C#, F# to run on Android. Well, there's two different runtime environments that are required, at least within this architecture. It's the mono execution environment, and then it's the Android runtime, okay? Now, the Android runtime, what sits on top of that is essentially like two different namespaces, right? We have, what am I doing? We have the Android namespaces, like Android, whatever, the various classes that are Android specific. And maybe I should split this into two. Oh, what is going on? What else do I need to kill? That's weird. Let me go ahead and split these cells. Yeah. So what sits on top of the Android runtime is actually, I would say, two different sets of APIs, or specifically two different namespaces. The namespaces that are associated to the Android, but also the namespaces for Java, right? So like this right here, the Java namespaces. So Android namespaces and Java namespaces will rely ultimately or sit on top of the Android platform. And for the mono execution environment, what sits on top of that within this Xamarin.Android architecture, this mono execution environment will actually have what sits on top of it is, let me split this as well. Come here. There's a couple of things. One is your .NET APIs, right? And this is why we use C#, F#. And the other part is your Android bindings. Okay. Center that. Now, all right, that looks fine. And that looks fine, I guess. Now, in order for your mono runtime to play nice with your Android runtime, this isn't centered, there's additional support that's required, okay? This support is actually in the form of wrappers, callable wrappers. So in order for the Android runtime to execute concrete implementations of Android interfaces, Java interfaces, I guess I would say Android interfaces, and also .NET methods that have overwritten Java virtual methods, if I could say that, or any methods in Java that are overridable. In order for that code to be executed, whether it's implementation of an interface or some method that has been overwritten, in order for that to be executed, the Android runtime relies on something to the notion of an Android callable wrapper. Okay. And maybe I should try to do something like that. That Android callable wrapper, can I put this like that? Yeah. The Android callable wrapper, as I attempted to articulate, probably doing a poor job, again, will actually enable the Android runtime to execute .NET code. Again, that .NET code could be an implementation of the interface or some method that is overriding some other method that is housed or harbored as a Java method. But this method is in .NET. So that's how it works. It executes .NET code via this Android callable wrapper. Something doesn't look right. Now, that's how the Android runtime invokes operations that were written using .NET technologies, hence C#, F#. Now, in order for .NET or these .NET technologies to be leveraged within the mono execution environment, in order for them to ultimately invoke operations, well, not invoke operations, but in order for them to actually work, at the end of the day, we're relying on the Android platform, right? At the end of the day, the Android platform provides the Android APIs and the Java APIs. And so we have these Android bindings, but in order to actually execute the operations that are operating system specific on this Android runtime that's exposed through these two different namespaces, we then have this thing called a managed callable wrapper. Okay, and that enables your mono execution environment to communicate with your Android runtime, specifically your .NET APIs to interact with the operating system, the Android operating system, via the support that's provided by the Android namespaces and the Java namespaces. So these are callable wrappers, right, that basically serve as a bridge between the two different runtimes. And that essentially is my current understanding of the Xamarin.Android architecture. I'm sure if I keep practicing my understanding by articulating it, by verbalizing it, it'll be a lot more congruent and a lot clearer. But I think this is a good first step. So that's it. Everything's centered. That doesn't look right. Whatever. Let me go back to me. Let me go back to me. Stop presenting to everybody. All right. So that's my current understanding of the Xamarin.Android architecture. This is important because I claim to be a Xamarin developer, and I don't want people calling me out on it. So I need to walk the walk, and I need to basically, I wish I could say this in a nice way, but destroy my competition, or essentially prove that I'm the best person for the job by really understanding the internals, the bowels of the Android platform and of the Xamarin platform or the Xamarin framework. So this is my attempt at doing this. My name is Scott Nimrod. I'm available for hire. And I'm here in Miami, but I'm willing to travel for contracts. So that's it. I hope this was helpful. I know I'll probably butchered a couple things. I would appreciate any feedback. and I'm going to keep on digging deeper and deeper. So that's it. Yo, adios, te veo a ratito. I am out. I'm hitting the stop broadcast button right now.